Remarkable people overcoming remarkable challenges with resilience, dedication, community, and grit. Listen as they share their stories of overcoming adversity. Open your eyes to what is genuinely possible for all of us. Authentic Adversity with host Chris Howe.
Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Adversity podcast. If you like the content, please like, comment, and of course, subscribe. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of sitting down for round two of an interview with a man who's become a close personal friend. We do some work together. He's a guy that I first noticed him on social media and was super inspired and motivated by his content. And, we've since had plenty of conversations and plenty of interaction. And, he's now my coach. So, he's a firefighter. He's got an amazing story, a transformational story. So I want to welcome Brad Dunn of Reliant Fitness.
Thank you, Chris. Happy to be back, man. Always a pleasure.
Man. Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, we recorded an amazing episode and the video got cut off. So I didn't want to put it out with just audio because, I want to do every guest, justice. And, it was a good practice run for us, although we touched on some amazing things. So, I hope to get back to some of those points that we talked about. But
absolutely.
Yeah, man. It's, we were talking a little bit off air, and I think, after we recorded the first one, I approached you about doing some coaching with me. And, so I've been with you for just a little over 2 months now. And I think it'll be a different conversation now because I have an inside look and a perspective on your coaching program, your techniques, the way you communicate with people. And, that's what I think I've talked to you about this before. That's what really drew me to you is, the way you communicate, even via social media. You're very to the point. You're not yelling and screaming at anybody, but you're giving quality information. You're consistent. You're inspiring people. You're really walking your talk. You're always showing videos of you doing the training up at 3:45 a.m. or whatever time it is, and doing your push-ups and inspirational quotes. And you're so consistent with that, and it really does, from a person who's using your program, it goes a long way, because to me, it shows me that this is a coach who's actually putting the work in. And I think that goes a long way in the fitness industry.
For sure. And thank you. I mean, it's a massive compliment, first of all.
Yeah, man.
But I mean, at the end of the day, we're not just coaches, we're leaders, we're leading people to accomplish a goal or become something that they want to become. So I feel the most effective way to do that is to obviously live what you teach and preach, and lead by example. So in order to, I feel have an effective grasp on not only my audience, but my clients, because almost all of my clients come to me through Instagram or some form of social media. So they have to see me doing it, to be like, okay, he's, like you said, he's doing it, he's living it. I can find a way to do it. I can bring myself to do it as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the way you inspire and motivate. And there's so many people on the internet that are just talking the talk, and, to see people truly walking the walk and walking the walk with you. So like me as a client and a friend, I know that you're putting in that work, and if Brad can do it, then I can do it. Right.
Yeah, I think that's very beneficial. And that was one of the things for me too. When I first got started on this, I wanted to see somebody who is basically matching my effort, in a sense, because it's hard for me, especially coming from the fire service, and where there's a lot of finger pointing and, do this, do that, and not a whole lot of action on the other end.
Right.
That almost breeds a little bit of insubordination in a sense, don't fucking tell me what to do if you ain't going to do it.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether they did it at some point in time or not, but that's just how my brain automatically goes. So I feel obviously I have to hold myself accountable to you guys, just like you have to hold yourself accountable to me.
For sure. Yep. I mean, that's the way it works most effectively. And I think just in life, us as men, that's what we want to see. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
We want to see that, people are true to their word, that they're beside us doing the same work, if not, more work. So we have somebody, and as you said, you're a leader, and for somebody to lead from the front and by example is the most effective way, and that's why you're as successful as you are and continue to become more successful in the industry.
Thank you.
And I love to see it, man. And I know that I've turned on a whole lot of my friends to your page that have got a lot of inspiration, and I hope that they become clients very soon as well. So, man,
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. This episode of the Authentic Adversity podcast is brought to you and sponsored by Another Road Drug and Alcohol Treatment Center. Another Road offers a client-centered recovery program tailored to every individual's circumstances. Their focus is to create a supportive, healing environment rather than a rigid, rule-based institution. Their dedicated commitment upholds the individual values respecting each person's desire for recovery. Another Road understands that every individual requires a unique and focused approach to their recovery. Certain modalities of treatment are introduced along with the tools necessary for each client. Located in a rural setting, their addiction treatment center for all genders provides the perfect setting for a transformative recovery experience and sense of belonging. The private residential treatment facility offers an unparalleled program with counselors that have in-depth knowledge based on varying years of experience in addiction. Another Road utilizes unique individual focus plans for recovery that address the complexities of drug addiction, alcoholism, and prescription medication misuse. They have a 65% success rate when clients follow their program. I know many people who have completed this program, and they have absolutely rave reviews. To learn more, visit anotherroad.ca. Before we get into like sort of what led you there, I'd like to talk about your story because you
Sure.
do have a story of transformation. I find it very inspirational. The changes that you've made, we have a lot in common in our lives, and so when you're telling your story, I feel like you're telling my story as well, and I think a lot of people out there can identify with our stories.
For
So,
sure.
do you want to just kick it off by telling us where you're from, how you grew up, what the environment was like for you, and we'll go from
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. So I grew up in Orange County, California. Typical, SoCal American blue collar household. My
Hmm.
dad owned his own company, commercial construction landscape. My mom was a stay at home mom until we were, old enough to basically hold down the fort by ourselves.
Right.
We played sports our whole lives. Everything was cool and calm and normal. No crazy stuff when I was a kid. Um, played sports through my whole youth. And then I'd say about 16, 17 is kind of like when my parents split up. And obviously that created like a little bit of divide in the house. And,
Hmm.
me and my brother being at that age, it was, as much as people say it doesn't affect them, like it definitely affects kids, you
Of
know?
course.
And then, you mix that with just being in that, that age range too, where you're in high school and you're going through these, almost rebellion phases at an early age, and you start experimenting with alcohol and drugs and stuff like that. And it just became lifestyle, you know what I mean? Like going out on the weekends, drinking, dabbling with some drug use here and there, getting in fights, just being that kind of angsty, like punk rock kid, like that was just life, and then fast forward like 10 years and not a whole lot's changed except I'm not in high school anymore and I'm working a job or trying to hold down a job, and you go to jail a few times, you get arrested. I got two DUIs. I got one at 17, one at 26, 25, 26,
Okay.
and went to jail a couple of times for some violent offenses and shit like that. It's just, and I kind of just woke up one day, when about the time I turned 30, and I was like, I need to fucking change something, man. Like, this is
Yeah.
not working out, like I noticed a pattern in my behavior, you know, like every 2 or 3 years, something would happen and it would usually end up with me in jail or with
Yeah.
something that was like a major setback in whatever progress I had made. And it stemmed, you know, from alcohol or drug use, primarily
Yeah.
alcohol. I would never really call myself a drug addict. I mean,
Yep.
I dabbled, but I wouldn't call myself an addict. It was definitely the root was alcohol. That was the problem.
Would you qualify as an alcoholic, would you think, back then?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, now
Okay.
looking back and seeing what my relationship was like, yeah. I wasn't
Hmm.
the guy who like would get the shakes by like 11 or 12 if I didn't have a drink, but I couldn't get through, you know, 4 or 5 days without a drink. It was like, you know,
Yeah.
I Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I was usually itching to go out and have a drink or do something. And then Friday, Saturday, and part of Sunday was like usually some sort of rolling blackout, you know,
That's
and I
important
never,
right there. I
yeah,
think that sorry to interrupt you, Brad.
you're good.
But you know, I just want to highlight that for anyone listening that, you know, to qualify as an alcoholic, that looks different for every person. And for you to, you know, there's a lot of people that keep it together Monday to Friday, and
Yeah,
then they, you know, they blow it out the water
for sure.
Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, whatever it is, and then they go back and work, and they call themselves functioning.
Hmm.
But we're neglecting to pay close attention to, you know, the amount of alcohol we're consuming and the need and the craving that we're getting. And we're almost, you know, I think people who do drink that way, they go at it with a mentality of like, I got to make up for those 5 days that I lost of, so you know, staying
Dude,
sober, and I'm going hard because these are my party days. And that is
exactly.
equally, you know, you're just as much of an alcoholic, or you qualify just as much as an alcoholic as the guy who gets the shakes every morning and has to, you know, have a bottle under his pillow to calm the nerves once he wakes up.
Right. And it took me
Hmm.
a long time to see that. You know,
Yeah.
I still remember sitting in one of my DUI classes and the teacher, you know, we're kind of doing the round robin stuff, you
Yep.
know, and the teacher's like, you know, I'm talking about kind of like what my life's like. I'm like, yeah, you know, like I got it. Like I'm in control. I got it. You know, I only drink like on the weekends, you know, and
Hmm.
this and that. And they're like, well, how much do you drink? And I was like, well, you know, I got no problem going through a whole bottle of whiskey in the evening, you know, and
Yeah.
maybe even some stuff on top of that. And she's like, can you do that like realistically like 3 nights a week? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you don't think you have a problem? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because at that point in time, you know, in my mid 20s, I like my definition, my physical and mental definition of an alcoholic was somebody who needed alcohol to get through the day, you know, and
Sure.
I didn't side with it because I was like, well, I can get through like 4 or 5 days without it, sometimes more. But I mean, like as soon as the weekend rolled around, it was like, it was right there calling me, you know, and I
Yeah.
couldn't, there was like, it took a lot for me to get to a point where I was no longer drinking on the weekends or going out with friends, you know,
Yeah.
but it came. Fortunately, it took fucking long enough, and I mean, fortunately, along the way, I didn't end up in prison for an extended term, which almost happened, you know,
Hmm.
or die, which almost happened too, because I crashed my Harley like 3 times,
Oh
amongst other
shit.
things, you
Yeah.
know. So, and at the, you know, like I said, it took me roughly 30 years to realize alcohol was the root cause of that problem, realistically, in most of those cases.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we don't see it until it's too late. None of us do, right? And and you know, looking back in hindsight, and then yeah, sure, we can identify it. You know, at this point when our lives have changed so much.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that there's a lot to be said there about you know, and I fell victim to this too. You know, I thought, oh, you know, I'm still keeping a job. You know, I got a girlfriend, I got a
Mm,
car, I got a roof over my head. I'm checking all those boxes of the like what I would consider a non-alcoholic to be able to
right.
check. So but it was the emotional turmoil and that craving and the inability to really say, you know what, it's Friday night, like maybe I don't have to drink. It was
Yeah.
just, you know, you had to do it. And for me it became like drinking and drug use became a very daily thing. And you know, I all the things that I identified as like reasons why I wasn't an addict or an alcoholic, they all started to change, and I started to realize, oh shit, now I am getting thrown in jail, now I am getting, you know, kicked out of apartments, now I am losing jobs, getting fired. thing after thing where I said, no, I'm good. I've got these material things. And
Hmm.
then if sooner, they all go,
Yeah.
if you continue down that path. So, kudos to you for identifying it and identifying the need for change. And so what did that change look like for you?
So initially it was basically going, from working as a mechanic. That was like my primary, career, from the time I was like 20 until, right around 30 years old. And even after into my 30s, like more on a part-time basis, like
Right.
committing myself to the fire service was the initial, like, I got to clean my shit up.
Okay.
Because I knew, one, if I was getting into that line of work, I could no longer like fuck around. I could no
Yep.
longer, lead that lifestyle to that extent, or like go out and get in a bunch of fights, because I already, had some marks on my records. I'm covered in tattoos, which is, are not favorable in the fire service too much these days.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was like, I really need to like commit myself to something and really just go all in and just try to leave this stuff on the sideline as much as possible. So that was like the initial step in living, a regimented, more disciplined, functional lifestyle. Setting aside the marks to basically go get my EMT, go to a fire academy, get hired on by a department, and like work like a full time job. And then, fast forward a couple of years, it took me. I got my EMT in a fire academy in about 6 months. I went to an expedited EMT program and expedited fire academy, and then came back to San Luis Obispo, where I live now, and started working in 3 of the reserve programs in the county. So it was basically 3 part-time firefighter jobs. So I was just trying to
Right.
fill my schedule up as much as possible with like being at the station, being on the engine, not really giving myself an opportunity to like be at home and fuck up.
Yeah.
Um, you know
Right.
what I mean? And then after like 10 months of that, I got picked up by Cal Fire in a more permanent style position. Still not permanent. The position I was in was called a seasonal. So we'd work
Okay.
like 8 or 9 months out of the year, usually prime time fire season, or, you know, coming in spring, summer, fall, usually, and most of us are laid
Okay.
off during the winter. But then, kind of that complacency started creeping in again. I would start drinking, with some of the guys I work with on my days off, or we would go out and do like certain things, or me and my chick, we still would drink here and there. And then it was really funny. I was with one of my partners from work on his bachelor party on a houseboat at Lake Powell. And
Okay.
we're doing the whole thing, we're drinking, we're getting stupid, and then I fucked my knee up. I tore my MCL while we were out there.
Oh
And
shit.
for some reason that just like really shook me. And that was like kind of like the, like, okay, like, you've made it this far and you still like you're drinking, and you almost did something that could potentially ruin your career as a firefighter, like having a detrimental knee injury. Obviously when it happened, I didn't know how severe or not severe it was. I just knew it
Sure.
hurt like shit and I couldn't walk on it, and my first thought was like, I can't work, I can't
Yeah.
run, like I can't hike. And I was like tripping the fuck out. I basically told myself that as soon as I was able to get back to 100% and like work out and train smart, that I was going to take it very seriously. Um,
Okay.
and that was kind of the big switch, is like I was no longer going to like create damage and negative setbacks to my body and my lifestyle with alcohol and possible drug use. And
Okay.
then a combination of that, and then also needing to generate a little extra income. I saw the opportunity to get into this online coaching game that's become like fairly rampant.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, the overtime that I was getting, I'm not really getting anymore. I have a kid on the way. My fiance was pregnant at the time with our little girl. And I have a background in working as a personal trainer and certifications and some of the schooling and that goes along with it. So I'm like, well, this might work out if I can make a few extra bucks, So I'm going to get tuned up. I'm going to get back in really good shape, and I'm going to try to break into this space and create a name for myself. And that it just happened. And, taking that same drive and that same energy that I had always focused into a negative arena and basically
Yeah.
focusing into a positive place, like,
Right.
it just became so easy, because I,
Yeah.
going through that process of getting myself back in really good shape, like, paying attention to my diet, which is like where my discipline always fell short. Like I
Right.
was like the king of like, yeah, I'll go to the gym 4 or 5 days, 6 days a week, but I was like, I'm gonna eat like 3 cheeseburgers afterwards, and have all
Sure.
this like shit food on the
Because we
weekends.
deserve it, right?
Oh yeah, that was it. I was
Yeah.
like, I worked
Yeah.
hard, really hard this week, so I'm gonna have all this shitty food. And then that was like the one piece that was missing was the diet. And once I
Yeah.
clicked in with the diet and a little bit more heightened discipline in certain areas, something in my brain just like switched. I started
Mm.
feeling like so good and being like the level of clarity that I had, like being able to actually use my brain and think and process and not get
Yeah.
like, all choked up on these dumb little things that would normally frustrate me or set me back. I just
Right.
like I didn't even want to go back to that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like that's what a lot of these people need to feel, and what they need to accomplish on the program is basically commit to something that is like 100% healthy and
Mm-hmm.
structured, that is set to get you there. Because some people, that's all it takes is that one little mental switch 2 3 months into like a program like this, and then the rest of their life is different. Because that's
For
exactly
sure.
what it did for me.
Well, and that's the best way to teach, through experience like that, right? You had that aha moment
Hmm.
when everything made sense to you, and you're like, okay, there's no going back from here. There's only going forward,
Right.
and you just continued to climb that mountain, and knowing that you'll never reach the peak, but the journey is what you're in it for, right?
For sure.
And I think that you spoke to structure and discipline, and those are things that I think, as men, we do crave that,
Hmm.
but we have a hard time creating it. So if we
Yeah.
have somebody to be accountable to, and we have a program and a structure laid out, and hey, you could check in with me. The open communication. I want to see that you're doing your work, because I want to see that you're meeting your wake up times, and you're, hitting your burpees on whichever day. And I'm checking in on my app, and I know that you can see what I'm doing
Right.
is structure enough for me to say that, like, if I don't have a check mark on everything today, I can't go to sleep. Right.
For sure.
And I love it. I thrive in structure. I mean, to
Yeah.
me, and I'm the type of guy, like, I love eating the same thing every day. I don't get bored with what I eat. I love having set macros. I it takes the guesswork out of life, and it allows me to enjoy the extra time that I have in my day to spend with my wife and my kid, or doing something meaningful, instead of like, you know grazing, going through my fridge and cupboards, just grazing on snacks, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Yeah,
Because I mean, most people's lives revolve around food. Their
right.
their next move, everything they do is meal to meal to meal, and
Yeah.
they're like so entrenched in variety and having like all this stuff, they don't realize how much time and how much productivity they're leaving on the table when they,
Yeah.
in a sense, eat like a dog. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I, not that we eat like, the meal plans and the stuff, the foods that I set up for my clients are boring by any means. I
No.
enjoy it. Like, they're whole foods. They are good foods. You can get a decent level of variety in there, but still be
Hmm.
highly productive because, like you said, you're removing the guesswork out of it. It's like,
Yeah,
eat, these couple of items, and you can switch things in and out. It's just more so like nailing down the amount that you need to consume in order to reach your goal in an effective and realistic time frame.
for sure. And being consistent with that, right? Like,
Yes,
that's a huge thing, is the consistency. I mean,
absolutely.
and that also speaks to what we were talking about, with alcohol. There's a lot of people that eat great Monday to Friday, and then it's like barbecue time on the weekends, right?
Yes.
And it's not hard with this sort of like flexible way of tracking your food. It's not hard to bring your own chicken breast to a barbecue.
Not at
For
all.
me, in my experience, I've found it less and less odd to people that I might bring my own meal to a barbecue, and just be like, no, man, I'm good. Like, this is what I eat. This is what I need to eat. I'm happy eating this.
Right.
There's not too many questions anymore. It's not an odd thing. So, more
No.
people are on this. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming more of like a kind of like a trend. Like, there's kind of like a big health kick awakening going on, and
Yeah,
I'm a fan of it, dude. We need it, like I feel
definitely.
like the pendulum has swung so far in one direction with the lack of knowledge and health and exercise that now it's like going to go back the other way. And we need that in our culture and our lives. But yeah, man, and the level of consistency with diet is huge,
Yeah,
because nutrition realistically is like 80% of the game, and it's like 80% of the results that you're going to work to achieve. You
right.
could, like I said, you can go to the gym 5, 6 days a week, but if you're eating like shit, you're wasting your time. Your
Yeah,
level of productivity is being really, really low because your effort and your discipline is not matched in the kitchen. As soon as you
yeah,
start leveling out that playing field and you start practicing the same, if not more, discipline in the kitchen, you're going to notice a huge change, and not only in your physical but your mental state. Um,
yeah,
and it takes a while. It is a fight initially, the first couple of weeks, because you have like those cravings and those things that you want to go back to sweets, you want to go back to certain fast foods. You have those areas of comfort that you resort to because that's
yeah,
just what you're used to. But as soon as you're able to create that new sense of comfort in those new foods and regiment and consistency in a plan, and having that level of accountability you were speaking with, it
yeah.
it can be very life changing for some people. And there's a
Absolutely.
handful of my clients that have like experienced a massive amount of success in just a couple of months by following the things that I lay out for them.
Definitely. And we on the Sunday meetings that we have, I'm always so impressed with the way people are cheering each other on, supporting each other. You spoke about this last week, I believe it was. You're talking about, like, sometimes we have to let go of friends and people that are close to us that aren't, in the same arena as far as like mindset, discipline, and motivation.
Yeah.
And you said something that really that I really enjoyed hearing, is that, these are your people, the people that are on this meeting right now. These are your people. Like, we're all accountability partners to each
Mhm.
other. And like, as soon as somebody talks about, I'm down a few pounds on the scale, or I've lost 30 pounds since I started, like the chat goes wild. Everyone's saying like, like, you're killing it, man. Keep it up. Like, super proud. It's a very nice and comforting environment for just people to be in, and be there's not too many places that you can go
Mhm.
anymore where people are celebrating your wins with you like that.
Right.
It's more of a comparative, like, oh, you lost 10, I lost 15, or you
Right.
know what I mean. It's and this is like, you have men, women, old, young, all different shapes and sizes, of course. And it doesn't matter what the win is, everybody's celebrating it together. And I love that sense of community, because healthy communities are so,
Limited.
we need them, and
Man, we
they
need
are limited. Yeah, you actually have to carve them out yourself these days,
it.
right? You have to
Yeah.
find your group of people that you can bring these things to, that, like my all my close people. I know that if I tell them something, there's no envy, there's no jealousy. It's just like, yes, we're proud of you, and let me celebrate this with you, and let's move to the next step together. And I love that.
Yeah, no, it's super awesome because I mean, and
Hmm.
it's something I heard a couple months ago, and it's super true. It's like, all the people at the top are collaborating, and the people at
Yeah,
the bottom are competing. There's no competition here. It's all how can we work to make ourselves better together, because we are in a sense a group, a community, and we are stronger together than we are on our own.
for
And
sure.
like we were getting into on the beginning of this kind of question, this notion is, the journey of personal development and growth is sometimes a very lonely road, because you do
Hmm.
outgrow the people that you're used to being around. Those buddies that you used to go to the bar with are still calling you and wondering where the fuck you're at, and you feel
Hmm.
almost guilty because you're not going to see them and hang out with them because you're on your own road and you're trying to stay away and abstain from that. And I was like, what I was talking to one of my clients about, the other day, and he's like, man, I was just, I feel really good, but I'm like really tempted to go back. Like, I don't know, like I'm torn. And I'm like, yeah, that's gonna happen, man. Like, that's part of the
Hmm.
game. Like, I went through it. Like, everybody goes through it to some extent. And like, the people that you need to gravitate towards are right here. Like, if you're dealing with this, hit me up, or
Yeah,
find somebody else in the community, in our group that you're somewhat close to, and you can reach out to and have that sort of accountability partner, you know, or even, get somebody that you're friends with that is, interested in going with you through it, you know
Yeah.
because that's huge, and that was a big part of, I think, my success, is I found a sense of community in a handful of people that were doing the same thing that I was doing. Now
Yeah.
it was very few and far between as far as in-person interactions, but I basically filled my Instagram and social media feed, and my extended contacts with people who were on the same journey and doing the same shit. So every time
Yeah.
I got up and I looked at something, or I pulled my phone up, it's like, these do like same shit you say about me, is banging push-ups first thing in the morning, or at the gym, or eating healthy, posting good meals. It's not the same old fuckery at the bar and staying out till 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, I'm over that. Like, I went through that. I don't want that anymore.
For sure. And you don't need to consume that on a daily basis with your social media.
No.
And I think that speaks volumes. Like and everybody should be applying that principle in their life. Like, hey, you know, it's great to follow our friends on social media, and of course you want to keep up with everybody, but like follow the people who are living the life that you want to live, because
Exactly.
those people are going to inspire and motivate you in a way that, you know, your friend that you see all the time that might be partying and he's got out on a boat drinking with his buddies and this sort of thing. Do I really need to see it? He could tell me about it when I see him in person. I
Right.
want to see the people that are inspiring me and motivating me to be um to get off my ass and do the next right thing, the next best thing for me and the community around me.
For sure.
Because and I can for sure speak to this in as far as like sobriety goes. And when I first got sober, I filled my Instagram feed with people, like sobriety stuff, like positive people who have been through that, who have walked the walk,
Yeah.
and now they can speak on it, and they're sharing information that's I'm consuming on a daily basis, that's helping me push further, helping me become that 1% better every day. And I know, and Instagram's a beautiful thing when it's used for the right reasons. And
Absolutely.
I've met and connected with so many fantastic people all over the world. And
Hmm.
I mean, even just this podcast has connected me with so many great people as well. And they don't have to be in our backyard. These people inspire us. Like,
Right.
they can be all over the world. And I love that about social media. I don't like all the shit talking and the nonsense that goes on, but we have a responsibility to ourselves to limit that,
Yes.
because we're consuming that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, that's like you said, the way you can use social media these days in a positive manner. Everybody has a laptop, everybody has a cell phone, and
Yeah.
we are a product of our environment. And in a sense, with the cell phone and the laptop, you can almost create a positive environment that you're consistently viewing or watching, versus
Yeah.
some people who aren't as fortunate, might be in lesser areas or surrounded by poverty or bad stuff, but it's like you can basically change your feed, because I mean, so many people do spend their time on social media these days, but it's like, if you're
Hmm.
filling your feed, if you're visualizing success and growth on a constant basis versus like things that are detrimental and negative, like, where do you think you're going to go?
Right. Yeah, we can only go up. To use those accounts and those people, those personalities as inspiration, not as a source of envy or jealousy and that
Right.
sort of thing. It's also the way we interpret the content that we're consuming, I think,
Totally.
right? And so that's why, and I've said this a few times already, but like, that's what I really love about just any interaction with you. And I want to say this, like, because it's so appreciated that I have your phone number. I have an app where I can reach out to you.
Hmm.
I know that you're uploading stuff on social media all the time. And you're just such an accessible guy. And I know that you've got a large clientele, but I don't feel like one of many. I feel like, you and I are on this thing together. And
Yeah.
yeah, on Sundays I see the community, but you really do. And I think it's amazing how, with the large clientele that you have, you give very close personal attention to, and I imagine to every client. That, to me, it speaks volumes to your character and to your um, I want to say your mission.
Yeah, well, and I feel like developing that almost relationship with my clients. Like obviously, if they're open to it, like I have a wide range of clients. I have a
Hmm.
handful of clients that just come in, they get the basically the program, you know, and I never hear from them. And then
Yeah.
I have the you know the opposite end of the spectrum where it's almost like daily, you know. But like you said, I make myself available for those people because I
Hmm.
feel like they came for that reason. You know,
Yeah.
they need that level of communication and almost attention to stay on track and stay on the path. And like I've noticed by providing that there's more success. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I find joy in it too. Like I was just talking with somebody about this yesterday. Like I'll be in a funk, you know what I mean? And I'll be in a bad way, in a bad
Hmm.
mood, and then I'll get hit up by a client that needs to chat for like 15, 20 minutes. And by basically helping them solve their problem, like walking them through their problem, talking them off a ledge, I find peace, you know? So it's like, it's a weird exchange, but it's awesome at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's very, I mean, I liken that a lot to like the sponsor sponsee relationship that you have in addiction recovery. You know, a huge part of being a sponsor is to help other people, but what it gives me back as a sponsor, I also have to have a sponsor, so I you know there's somebody to be accountable to.
Right.
But when I help another addict or alcoholic, I believe that like a lot of times I get more from it than the actual person who I'm offering the help to, because it takes me out of the out of my emotion that I'm, you know, if I'm having a bad day, it allows me space to give back to somebody else, to be of service.
That's just it
And
right there. The service.
yeah, and and that's what, as human beings, that's what, you know, that's what we're here for, to be of service. And
Bingo.
you know, I think that and people don't realize this, that like, you know, the ones who are being of service and helping, they're also, it's an exchange of, an exchange of information, emotion, and we're allowing each other space and time to whether we need to get out of whatever funk we're in, or put ourselves in somebody else's shoes and remember when I felt that way before, or, you know, hey, I've got an example of when I went through this exact same emotion or plateau that I'd hit and I needed to get over it. Well, you know,
Totally.
we're sharing information back and forth, and it's a such an altruistic thing. It helps everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
wild because I mean, even just like stepping into this when I first started, I'm like, you know, like you get that little bit of self-doubt, you know, like
Yeah.
how am I really going to help these people? How am I going to set myself apart from this like saturated market in a
Yeah.
sense? And it's like obviously, you know, continue to provide value. And there's, you know, life experiences that I've dealt with that can be very helpful to other people because I mean, I'd say the biggest part in my growth is figuring out how to get through those things. And now, you know, being able to turn around and help others people figure it out, whether it's like just dude, you just got to suck it the fuck up and keep going, or it's like,
Yeah.
you know, or just, you know, actually be a little bit more compassionate and explain like, look bro, like it's gonna hurt, it's gonna be fucking, it's gonna suck for a while, but you know, in 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is, you're gonna thank yourself that you stuck through the pain and made it count. Because I mean, everything you want is on the other side of everything you don't want to do right now. So you just
Yeah.
have to stay in the fucking fight. You have to
Yeah.
want it. You have to fight for it.
That's it. That's it. I had a coach one time tell me that, you know, on the other side of suffering is greatness. So,
Totally.
and you know, and that I've heard that sort of slogan or saying a bunch of times, and it's so true. Like, when it really sucks is when it's about to get really good, you know.
Yeah,
And
totally.
you know that, we see that over time, and the process is arduous, and it's, you know, oftentimes, you know, there's a pull to like get me the fuck out of this situation or this whatever. I can't keep going, but that's where we need our community. That's where we need that person to say, hey man, I got over that hump, so that means you can get over that hump.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, man. So to kind of switch directions, I wanted to talk a little bit. I know we spoke about this before, but so your work with Cal Fire,
Hmm.
and you know, we talked about, so like, I don't know if listeners don't know, I'm also a firefighter. So it's one of the things that Brad and I have in common. And, something that I always noticed, around the fire hall is that there's a lot of guys, mostly guys who have been on for, a number of years that are very complacent in their daily habits at work, and they just park themselves on the couch or in the staff room, and they drink coffee and they eat pasta and they bullshit all day and talk shit about each other, and it's like the little high school that we have in the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that you have been, with your department, you had been very much a leader as far as the PT stuff goes with the guys, and kind of, again, leading by example, to get maybe some of these guys who are quite sedentary to maybe get off the couch and, hey, you don't have to do the full workout with us, but hey, like, maybe there's a captain or an officer or whatever that might want to come out and do some push-ups while the other guys are working out, just to kind of be that motivation for the possibility of change. So can you talk to me a little bit about how that kind of played out, and how that, kind of what you saw around the fire hall?
Yeah. So fortunately, I worked at a station that was we were pretty heavy on PT, but like you
Mm-hmm.
said, as the ranks the ranks go higher and the years get longer, some people get complacent.
Yeah.
But I took it upon myself to like kind of very more structure the PT. Like, so if I was on duty, I was always putting together the workout. You know,
Yeah.
I was drawing up the circuit, or putting together whatever we were doing, or typically we would our morning get down was we would either go for a run or a hike in the mornings, and then in the evenings I would drag the firefighters out to do a lift. But I was trying, obviously trying to lead by example, like always, focusing fitness as a priority, because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
as firefighters, like, yes, we should be very physically fit and very physically capable. And after getting into the fire service and seeing that it was very, very lax, as far as the fitness requirements have gotten to a point, and I'm just like, I was almost like slightly disgusted and disappointed, because
Yeah.
I was hoping that I was going to get around a bunch of people who were going to test me and push me, and then
Mm-hmm.
I was the one that was like pushing them. Don't get me wrong. There are a handful of guys I worked with that are complete specimens of individuals, and like
Yeah.
did like push me and have a big part to do with where I'm at today, but they're few and far between. But the same thing, like I've tried to bring a structured approach to our PT and make sure that we're hitting all of our bases, to be effective and do our job well. And then I tried to bring the nutrition aspect into the kitchen, focusing on macros, eating well, I say well, because it wasn't always spot on, but, tried to
Better than it
eliminate,
was.
tried to eliminate the
Yeah.
big pasta dishes and like all that stuff that like
Mm-hmm.
because people just don't know. They flat out just don't know.
Sure.
And what we do training topics, every day, and I tried to train everybody up on macros. I'm like, look, we need to be consuming this much protein, this much carbohydrates, this much fat, realistically, for our size, activity level, things of that nature. And that
Mm-hmm.
means this much meat, this much this, like, and they're like, a couple of the guys took to it for a while. I challenged them. I'm like, just track your macros for like a week. And a couple of them took to it, and a couple of them were like, fuck this.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
at least I presented it and tried to teach it and stuff like that. And then, yeah, it was funny because it basically started at like a station level thing, making sure
Yeah.
my firefighters and the people around me who wanted to listen, had the
Mm-hmm.
information available to them to take it to the next level as far as their fitness and their nutrition aspect, which is
Right.
huge in our
Yeah.
performance and our recovery as firefighters. So I liked having that aspect. And then obviously with it being kind of not received the way I exactly wanted it to, I decided to take it to a larger platform and bring it to social media and see what I could
Yeah.
do with it. Fast forward, 7, 8, 9 months, and it's a massive, business with, a
Yeah.
large client base and generating a pretty absurd amount of income that I never would have thought was possible, or we're doing it. It's just crazy. It's crazy what you can do when you put, your heart and your mind into something that you're passionate about, and you refuse to kind of back down or let up,
Yeah.
and just to see where
Yeah.
it can take you if you put it into the right areas, and you step out of that level of fear and doubt, and you're just like, well, I'm going to just fucking go for it. Cause I've been through worse. What the hell is going to hurt me now?
Yeah, that's it, right? And it's funny, when it comes to the self-promotion stuff online,
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of reluctance to put myself out there, to be talking to a camera, to be, that's, and we don't really come from a generation where that's normal.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a big deal to even learn how to be comfortable to have a conversation in front of a camera, or, like, this is different. We're talking to each other,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're just speaking to an unknown audience and you're holding your phone, and, but I again, like, I don't, I tip my hat to you, because you do it in a very respectful way, that's not, I don't, I've said this a few times, because there's a lot of people out there that are trying to jam it down your throat, their concepts and their values and their methods and their programs, and you really don't, you're not selling. I feel like you're attracting more than promoting, and I don't feel like you're selling, like you're online saying, you sign up, you got to sign up, I'll let you in on the secrets once you sign up. You're showing us the secrets because you're doing them. We're watching you do these things, and the people that are inspired are coming because they're attracted to it. They're not like, okay, I want to buy the package, I want to buy this guy's program. You're selling your lifestyle, which I
Exactly.
think is, yeah, it's very important.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like when you, and I was fortunate enough to kind of figure that out early on in the game. Is like I'm watching, obviously, a couple of the big people out there, doing their thing, and I'm like, well, I can't do that. Like
Yeah,
I can't, like, one, that's not my personality, and two,
right.
I don't have the basically the income or the client base to fall back on if it doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I had to lead from a place of more compassion and just show, like, hey, this is what this did for me, and like day in and day out, and make it attractive, show the good parts of it, talk about the struggles of it, talk about how it's transitioned basically my whole life, just by
Hmm.
focusing, a couple of months. It all started with a 90-day program. And don't get me wrong, when I joined up on Wes's fitness program, it wasn't that I needed to learn about fitness. I needed the commitment. I
Sure.
was already familiar with exercise. I was already familiar with macros. I wasn't tracking my macros. I wasn't being disciplined with my diet. I didn't really have a goal when I was in the gym training. I was
Hmm.
exercising. I wasn't training, because exercising is training without a goal. And then basically shift gears, like, okay, I made a commitment. I've got some money on the table. Like, I'm going to stick this out. And then just basically that whole process, like I said, of mental and physical shift, to like, okay, I love this. I love how it makes me feel. I love where my life is going now. And then now I just have to project that out to the world, and they're going to, the right people will gravitate towards it. I don't have to shove it down anybody's throat. You know, obviously there are areas where I'm doing like calls to action and trying to get people like a little stirred up and fired up. But I'm not
Hmm.
over here like calling people bitch, like, like,
Yeah.
get on my program or you're a pussy, like, it's just like, I
Yeah.
have to have a different approach, because I'm going to just come out and say it. I'm not Wes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have to find what works for me. And I think that's where a lot of these people out there are getting it twisted. They're trying to run around and do what Wes is doing, and they're not Wes. And I think the world can see that, obviously,
For sure.
because his game works great for him, and basically only him. So
Yeah.
the other guys that are trying to do what Wes does, it's like you have to find your own way. You have to do what you feel is right. Don't emulate. I'm all for emulating the lifestyle, but you have to find a way to draw people in, to get those people to gravitate to you in a much different manner.
For sure. And I think different people are going to be attracted to different styles of coaching. His style is
100%.
not for me. Like, I've told you this before, nothing, you know, he does a great thing, from what everybody says, but his
Hmm.
style is not for me. What I see in you is authenticity, and you always present the same way. Like, you are always the same guy. Whenever whether it's through text, DM, phone call, this type of thing, or what I see you talking about, on your Instagram, it's never not you.
Yeah.
So it's what I love about that is, like, you know, authenticity is what I want. I don't want somebody to, um I don't want a show from somebody. I don't want somebody to be playing a character. I want
Right.
Brad to be telling me what he did today and what I got to do today and what macros I need to hit, and, you know, having and showing me that he's the same guy online as he is offline. And I truly get that from you.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like it's been huge, majorly beneficial. And it too, there's no duality. Like, I literally, like you said, I'm the same person in real life that I am in Instagram.
Yeah,
I don't have to lie. I don't have to create a front. I'm not saying Wes is doing that, but there's a lot of people out there that are doing that.
definitely.
They're trying to create a persona that's not their life, their lifestyle, and I think the world can smell it right off the bat. And that's the thing too, is like people resonate to coaches for the way that they explain things, the topics they
Yeah.
choose to discuss, the lifestyle they choose to lead. Because at the end of the day, we're all teaching the same shit. The
Yeah.
I mean, the workouts, yes, the workouts can vary a little bit, but there is no like secret black magic workouts that we're doing that they're not doing. Like, it's the level of one, how can you get your client base to perform well? How are
Hmm.
you presenting it in a way that they're going to want to go and do it? And then
Yeah.
obviously that level of consistency with the nutrition. How are you packaging it to make it
Hmm.
appealing to these people? you know
For sure.
because
For
that's where
sure.
your success is going to come from. Like, if you make it look like you enjoy it and you love it and it's a major impact on your life, then other people are like, fuck, I want to try that. And that's all it is. And people hit me up all the time because they see how much success I've had in a short period of time. They're like, what's your secret? And I always tell them authenticity and consistency.
Yeah.
I'm 100% me, and I show up every fucking
Yep.
day.
Absolutely. And I know that, and you know, and I've after getting to know you, and you know, spending time working with you, communicating with you, you know, that is truly who you are. And that to me is, um that's what I want from anybody who, I'm taking their lead, anybody who's coaching me. You know, I definitely want authenticity, and I want to feel, that person is connected to me on a level that is real.
Yeah.
And you know, I get that. Like, and you know, and I don't even, and something else, and this is something that I've said, I have certain boxing coaches, certain Muay Thai coaches, certain nutrition or fitness coaches that I've worked with, that are, they're my coaches, but they're also my friends. I feel like they have a personal investment in me, and that they truly care about my well-being. And those are the ones I stick with, because, um, I need to feel that from somebody. I need that connection, and I need to know that, um, I'm not just I'm not just a number. I'm not being, okay, here's, you know, just keep following the program. Keep it. It's like, no, let me modify this for you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, simple things like, I threw my back out last month or whatever. Okay, cool. Here, you know, and you were, you know, I brought it to you right away. Don't work out, rest, get, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? You weren't pushing like, stick with the program, don't worry, work through it, nothing like that. And
Yeah.
then when I got, to a point where, you know, I was able to like function again, and get into the gym, you gave me certain workouts that catered to my need at that time. So,
Hmm.
you know, it's not a cookie cutter program for anybody, and
No.
that makes somebody feel very cared for and very special, because, and when it comes to fitness, or any kind of training, you need to feel that.
Yeah, and I think it's important because I mean, as much as there are benefits of running like a program,
Mm,
it's not a one size fits all kind of thing.
yeah.
People do have injuries, people do have life events. So, I mean, fortunately, I have a pretty wide knowledge of what, basically, not only what I would do, but what I've been taught in the past. And
Yeah.
basically being able to transcribe that in a piece of software and being like, okay, well, like you said, well, I threw my back out, like I need to do something modified. I'm like, cool, do these, do these instead, or check this out, let me know how it feels, because people, if I just shove the one program down someone's throat forever, like how versatile does that make me? It doesn't make me versatile at all. Like,
And the client retention would just not be there.
right.
Everyone's gonna, yeah, we got
Because
the recipe.
yeah, because they're going to come
Yeah.
through and maybe I'll get them on one sale for 90 days, 6 months, maybe even a year. And then what
Yeah.
if they re-up and they want to come back and then it's like the same shit? Like, what the fuck? That's boring. Like, so I have different, training phases, different training styles that obviously, like, there's certain clients, I feel like there's a time and a place to throw it in there. But I mean, you have a very athletic background. It's not like you're new to this. So
No.
like, I don't feel like I can't put anything on your schedule that you can't necessarily do, whereas like some other people, like the whole idea of their first 90 days is to basically build that habit up, like build
Right.
that habit up of working out 5 or 6 days a week. And once you show me that you have that habit, then I'll give you some more variety. Because just like the food, the variety is going to distract you from the end goal, which in most of my clients, the first 90 days is 100% building habit. But the people that come to me and are athletes or have an athletic background or, have worked with other coaches and kind of have the runaround, like, yeah, I put them on a very different style of training. Because if I just gave someone at our level, like the same thing and was just like, just fucking do it, they'd probably get like a month into it and be like, bro, what is going on?
Sure. Yeah.
And like, that's fine. You can question me. Like if people are getting drawn out and bored, like let me know because I'll change the training schedule. I don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
But like it all roots back to that level of communication. Like you have to let me know what's going on. And I keep a very open door with my clients.
That's a big deal. And I appreciate the fact that, we talked last week, I believe it was, and the phase that I'm in right now, it was like something that I was doing like a full body workout every other day, or I can't remember how it went, but it was something that at first I was like, oh, this is like, I don't like this. I'm hitting too many body parts in one day. And then after a week, I was like, oh shit, like I can see my abs now. I'm like, I just dropped like 6 pounds over a week doing this. And then I messaged you. I'm like, dude, I hated this at first, but like, I'm fucking loving this now. I see the results, and it's not something that I would have done on my own. So to me, it's great. And then this week I'm doing something different, which I also have responded quite well to. So it really, the variety is so important. And I love that I can walk into the gym and not have to guess about what I do. Like I love to hit benchmarks. I love that in this app it's tracking my progress, so I don't have to keep a journal. The app is an all-in-one. Really,
Totally.
I've never used something like that for training that's just been one app. I've always had to keep a journal of something, and then I'd have to go find a workout from somewhere else, and go on YouTube, learn something, and this, that, the other thing. And this is perfect. I love to be able to just hit those benchmarks, hit those numbers, know what I was lifting last week, so I can add an extra 5 pounds or whatever it is that I might be able to do if I can push it that day.
Right.
And it really helps to track progress, and I don't think a lot of people do that.
No, they don't. I mean, I didn't do it for years. And when I started doing it, like when I was introduced to that software, I was just like, oh, holy shit, this exists. Like, like I'm like, this is fucking game changing stuff right here. Like I could track my reps, I can track my weight. It shows me what I did the last time. Like you said, like having the framework and the structure when I get to the gym and I'm not just drifting from equipment to equipment, like trying to piece something together. Like it's all, because I was telling my son this yesterday. There's a difference between being busy and being productive. Most of us have already are on limited time to get to the gym and have a workout. So don't you want to like use that, let's just say 45 to 60 minutes in the most effective way possible? Like, so
Yeah.
have that workout framed out for you to follow,
Hmm.
and it's just like bam, 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 you know, and then you're
Yeah.
not like, feeling like shit. Did anything even happen with that? And you follow the workouts that most of the time I'll put forth to you. And if you did it the way you're trained with the intensity I try to get people to train out, like you're broken afterwards, but in a
Uh,
good way, in a
yeah.
good way.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. And I said it to my wife the other day. It's like, I'm coming home and I'm just like, I got to peel all my clothes off because I'm drenched in sweat. And I'm spending a fraction of the time I used to spend
Yeah.
lifting without breaking like, I mean, I break a sweat, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't like, this is different. Like it's even down to the break time, the rest times and stuff like that, all in the app, press a button. It's like, it's just, it really, really, it,
Streamlines the
it
process.
does streamline it. And I'm, I really love, I've got a lot to do in my day, and I love the fact that I'm not spending aimless time at the gym. I'm there with a purpose, and bang, bang, bang. Okay, cool. Checked all the boxes,
Yep.
workout complete, gives me the thumbs up, and I feel good about that. And I feel good about that check mark there. I need to see it.
For sure.
So talk to me a little bit about mindset and mental health when it comes to your program and training in general.
So, I mean, the mindset aspect, I mean, it's very important. It's a big part of what the training, gives, but it's definitely an
Hmm.
earned thing. And the way that we create that mindset is obviously by doing like difficult or arduous tasks, daily for an extended period of time. And what that does is not only does it build like, physical, toughness, but mental resiliency. And that's kind of the idea, is building, a sound body and a sound mind. And in order to have a sound mind, you must first have a sound body. So that's the primary focus, through these regimented things that I provide in the program, right? We basically create a routine, a structure, you know, wake up early, ideally, not all my clients do, but ideally get up early, have a little morning process, whether it's, journaling, visualization, basically creating your day in your mind before it happens. And then, hitting a workout, eating good foods, and just remaining positive and on track. And I know it might sound crazy to some people who haven't lived that lifestyle yet, but do that for a period of, let's just say, 90 days, like my 90-day program, and watch what happens to not only your body but your mind. You're gonna develop, a sense of mental toughness that you probably didn't have before, because you're going to feel accomplished from doing a series of tasks that are monotonous or somewhat difficult for an extended period of time. And I think having that mindset, that most people are just resort to the path of least resistance. And that
Right.
is the worst thing we can do as human beings, because if the path of least resistance becomes habit, then you are going to go down a dark and lonely road, because
Yeah.
you're going to choose the foods that are poor. You're not going to have the mental toughness or the physical strength to reject the things in your life that you should be rejecting, you know.
Hmm.
And I think, that level of self-control that we get, it stems from what we put in our mouths. And that's why the nutrition aspect is huge, is when you
Right.
build that level of knowledge and forethought. Okay, we're eating for nutritional value. We're trying to hit
Hmm.
basically a caloric and macro goal daily. You're removing pleasure from the equation. And I think
Yeah.
when we remove pleasure from the equation for a period of time, and you're focused solely on performance on a goal,
Hmm.
it does something to your brain. And
Yeah.
when that becomes your new normal, your whole life is going to change.
Yeah. I totally agree. And building that mental fortitude in your daily routines, and especially your morning routine and your workouts, it's gonna bleed out into the rest of your day, the rest of your week, the rest of your month, and it also has a ripple effect on the people around you.
100%.
Um you know and and so the people under your own roof, who are in most people's cases the most important people in their lives, They're going to see that, they're going to feel that, they're going to be attracted to that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to most likely have, people that are going to share or want to share in those common values and goals and morals and that sort of thing, and follow suit. And like, my wife's an MMA fighter. She's, she trains like crazy, and she is very conscious of what she eats. She's got to make weight for fights and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so having somebody like her under the same roof, it motivates me.
Yeah.
And I believe that having somebody like me who's, following a disciplined routine and has a real structure in his life also, motivates her. And the best part about that is that we've got a 9-year-old boy who is seeing this routine and this discipline and this, this this mental toughness and fortitude to say, you know what, I don't want that. I'm not going to have the ice cream tonight. Like, give me a protein shake and a couple of rice cakes and I'm happy.
Right.
And, and there are healthier options. There are, of course, our kid loves to have a treat here and there, but a lot of times he's reaching for fruits and vegetables now, rather than reaching his hand in a cookie jar.
Totally.
Which, I believe that comes from seeing it in the parents. And so for the younger generation to see that and to feel that, because kids pick up on everything. Like, they're on a different frequency than we are. They're picking up on our moods, our attitudes, our it sounds woo woo, but like our vibrations, and that sort of thing. We're instilling those values and that structure in our children's lives just by example, and by them watching the parents be diligent and structured that way. And I see it now in his sports and in his, the things that he wants to do. Like, he's driven in a way that he wasn't before.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
that's
I think that's
a
really
huge
important.
factor, is when you get the kids involved. Because I mean, it's one thing, and that's a big part of my, a big piece of my client base is like, obviously mothers and fathers, people who have kids, and setting that tone, that example in the household, letting your children see what it's like, how empowering it is to live like kind of like a disciplined and regimented lifestyle, and just how much that is setting them up for success in the future.
Right.
And I see it a lot with my son. He sees what I've done, and he's like, I can tell he's very like proud in a funny way.
Yeah.
And as much
I see
as
him doing burpees with you.
Yeah. And he same thing. He'll, obviously he's a kid, so he still wants to like go to McDonald's or get ice cream and stuff like that. And I let him do it, I let him be a kid still, but
Of
it's
course.
like, it's obviously in moderation, so like he knows that like when we're at the house, it's like meal preps for dinner most of the time, or, if he wants a snack, it's going to be fruit and vegetables. But I'll still let him, splurge from time to time, but that's like that same thing is he knows now what my response is when he's like, can we go to McDonald's? I'm like, no, bud, that stuff's garbage. Like he knows, but he still tries.
He still tries, but when he's a teenager and his friends are like, hey, let's go to McDonald's, he'll be the guy that's been driven into his mind that no, that stuff is garbage. So no, let's not. Let's, you know what I mean? Let's go home and make a pita or like, you know what I mean? Like something, I think that's really important. And, my wife is also in recovery. So like a lot of our talk around the house is about recovery from addiction, mental health. And we speak very openly about that stuff, again, because we want him to know that, it's okay to talk about your feelings. It's okay to talk about your emotions. It's okay to talk about, tough times that we've had in the past and how we've grown from them. And that goes for even workouts or fights or whatever that we're having. Like, if I take a fight and I lose, he sees the emotions that I go through, and he sees how his mom comforts me through that and helps me through that, and vice versa. although my wife doesn't lose. She's just like, she's a beast. So I'm normally just have to, say like, oh, you're the best, which
Nice.
she is.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But those things, I just think that, modeling that behavior in the household to our younger generation is doing a great service to the people that are going to be on this planet in 30 years when, we may not be.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I love that. And I love that, that the program can help create an atmosphere where these are conversations to be had and to be shared with family. So
Totally.
that's yeah.
It is contagious, man. I mean, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, the vibration and the energy that is exuded from people who are living and choosing to be that way, it is
Yeah,
contagious.
yeah, man,
So whether it's the kids or people in your circle or whatever, like they may not admit it at first, but they are watching and they're taking notes. And
for sure.
right now, like these last like 2 months have been super cool because I've had like a lot of people that I grew up with and friends of mine. They've been friends of mine for a long time, and they've
Yeah,
obviously been watching this whole transition and everything going on. And they're finally like, "All right, I want in. What's
yeah,
going on here? What's it going to cost me? What do I have to do?" And I'm like, "Yes, let's go."
yeah. Yeah, for sure,
you know,
for sure. No, that's the best. And there you get to share that lifestyle with people who are actually in your life, and now there's your community that hey, when it's time to come over and be social,
yeah,
it's not about coming over with a case of beers
no,
and a bunch of burgers. It's
right,
hey, let's go hit a workout, go get some good food,
yep.
talk about positive things, lift each other up, and really be in each other's corner, and we need that.
Yeah, totally. I was just saying that yesterday, man. I'm like, I used to surround myself with all these people that were just so inherently negative, and like I feel as human beings, we are just inherently negative because that's what we are fed. You look at the news, you look at all this stuff, everything's just like constant
Yeah,
bad news. It's always the half empty versus half full. And
right.
going through this whole growth and business and getting around like-minded individuals, it's like if you really get like 4 or 5 people who are on the same page and want the same things, like you could fucking take
Mm-hmm.
over the world, you know.
100%. Yeah,
And like having that, like with a couple people and that ability and basically that self-empowerment from removing that sense of pleasure from your life, like you really can do some huge, huge things.
for sure. And one other thing I just want to touch on is like removing the sense of pleasure. It probably sounds, to anybody listening, sounds awful, but by removing the pleasures in bad foods or negative thought or negative that sort of thing, you find what's truly pleasurable for you, and the things
Bingo,
that seemed hard become your new pleasurable experience.
bingo.
So it's not like you have to remove pleasure from your life.
No.
Pleasure just comes in a different form, right?
Bingo. That is it. That is
Yeah,
it. Just like you were saying, checking those boxes, like you get so much joy from following that regiment and having that and basically marking everything off your list every day.
yeah,
You find purposeful pleasure, and not stuff that is, set you back or, keep you captive, you know,
right.
the, that quote I said in my post the other day is like, couldn't be more true with my life, where you seek freedom and you become chained to these things, but if you seek discipline, then you will set yourself free. I forget who said
Sure.
that quote right now, but it's like that really, like, that shit hits to home with me because that was obviously previous lifestyle going to like everything. Well, I want to be free, so I'm gonna get drunk, I'm gonna do whatever I want, I'm gonna call out a sick at work and da 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 da. But it's like by
Yep.
by resorting to discipline and completely structuring my life around discipline and basically removing those forms of pleasure and basically saying I'm only doing these things for the next couple months, I have completely set myself free in a sense. I no
Yeah.
longer have to work for somebody else. I don't have to answer to anybody else. I am my own master. because I mastered myself.
For sure. Well, that's amazing. I think that's a great quote to end it on, man. And it's as always a pleasure to sit and chat with you.
Oh
I
yeah,
could do
bro.
this all day. But if anybody out there wants to learn more about you, learn more about the program, follow you on socials, where can they find you?
So Instagram is probably the best place to get me. It's at reliant.fitness. My YouTube's also reliant.fitness. TikTok's reliant.fit. But if you're looking to get on a program or shoot me a message or get some information on programming, definitely 100% Instagram.
Okay, perfect. And I'll link all those in the show notes. And hey, I want to say this, like, I'm not just kissing your feet by saying all this positive stuff. Like I'm saying it because I want the viewers and listeners to know that, the authentic delivery and attention that you give to your clients is so valuable, and that there's no dollar amount that you can put on that attention and that care. So I say all this stuff because I want anybody who is, considering to jump on a program to realize that what they're going to get from you is 100% real, 100% authentic, and truly, and not easy, but worth it. Right?
No, I thank you,
Right?
man. That's a massive
Yeah.
compliment, and that's what I aim to provide. An elite service that really provides value and can change somebody's life. That's my
Yeah.
that's my goal.
That's amazing. That is truly being of service to others. And I thank you for that. And I'm looking forward to the next couple months of training with you, and beyond that as well. But I just want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart, man. It's awesome to chat with you. Even better to just know you and call you a friend.
Hell
So,
yeah, bro. Thank
thank
you.
you for everything, man. And we'll chat very soon.
Yes, sir. Sounds good to me. Thank you again, bro.